And hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. So today we're going to be continuing with HTML tutorial, second last one if I'm not mistaken. So today we'll be starting with the HTML5 forms. Now a form is basically what you fill in to, let's say, contact someone or maybe buy something online. You know, it's kind of something like that. So the HTML5 one is basically done almost the same as the HTML4 one, which we will not be going through because we're doing HTML5, so it's the new and improved and everything of everything, you know. Okay, let's just forget that part. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you guys an example of what a form is, but going to my site and showing you guys basically what it looks like. So if we click here on the contact me option, then you will see how a form looks. Now note this doesn't work here or anything. So this is a form. You enter your name, your email address, and then maybe a message or text or something, and then you can like send me something and I might even reply, but it doesn't work yet, so don't go try it. Yeah, this is basically a basic form. Of course there are more things you can do, and there are probably other things you should put into a form. Note, a form does not work with just HTML. You need some, I think, some JavaScript and definitely some PHP. Okay, so first we create a form tag. Then inside of this form tag we will add an input tag. This is where you input text and emails and stuff like that. So inside of the input tag you have a name attribute. Now the name attribute comes most handy in some JavaScript and PHP, so we won't be going through this right now. Maybe once we start with PHP and stuff like that, I will start explaining this to you guys more, so then you will be actually using this. Also some other HTML features that go along with it, we might be talking about that in the next video. Just note, the name can be anything you want as long as it doesn't have things in like dots and, you know, just illegal characters, which I think we did talk about that, so we'll be going over it again. Okay, then we have our type attribute. So you have a type like submit, which is basically a button which will submit something, which you usually put at the end of a form. Or you have a type of text which will give you a bunch of options to input text, for example your name or just a story you want to put in, but you know, we can just add a text box for that. Then you also have like an email for if you want to put in an email specifically. There are more, but we will be going to those a little bit later. Now let's see how it looks. And there we go. So here we have a ton of options that we can choose from, which is obviously your most recent options. You can turn that off if you want, but we'll be getting to that later as well. Then we have the label attribute. Now this is important because they won't just know what to enter. You gotta give them something like a label, you know, just to tell them. So you can just like put your name there, for example. Like inside the label attribute, like put your name here or enter your email address. So we're just going to say your name, and as you can see, if we refresh it, there is your name. Now on my webpage it's a little bit different, we don't have that, so yeah. Now here we have another input, just as an example. So we're going to give it a placeholder. Now placeholder is some text inside of the input to give the user an example of what they should insert. Just don't mind the for attribute, we'll get to that sometime later. Now as you can see, there is some text inside of this input, email@example.com. Now that's a placeholder. Now we also have the autofocus attribute, which if you add it to like an input, it will automatically focus onto that input, so when the user goes to that page they can start typing inside of it immediately and stuff. This is suggested for when you like need them to like start entering the name from like the top or something. Don't put it very down at the bottom because that might irritate them, like in a text box. You don't want to put it there down at the bottom in a text box because you know they first want to enter their name and email and stuff before they get there. Now remember how it gave you suggestions to complete the text for you? If you put autocomplete off on the form, it won't give you those extra options to add to your form anymore. So when you click on it, you won't get any pop-up saying, hey, do you want to enter this or something to the form, which I don't really like. I think it's generally bad, but you know you can turn it off if you don't want it. Okay, so next we're going to add an input called submit. So remember, this is just like a button. There's nothing really specifically special about it. It's just when you want to submit a form. Now you can do this with a button as well, but it's generally good practice to just use an input and make it a type of submit. Now the submit button also has a value option. Now the value is what is inside of the submit button. So the submit means the button says submit. But if you're going to change the value to anything else, the button's name will change. For example, let's make it submit now. So now the button will be called submit now. So next up is the required attribute. Now if you need someone to enter something like their email, then you add the required attribute to the input. This means when they press submit and they have not entered anything into that input, like we're going to be doing now, it will say please fill out this because they need to, since it is required. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys a few other types of inputs you can give people. Now we will start with the color input. Now here, as you can see, you can choose a bunch of colors. Pretty nice, right? Next up is one of the 10,000 date types you get. So this date basically asks you to insert the date, day, month, and years. Now the month type is one of the other ton of types you get. So then you just insert basic info about the month. Now the number type is basically a way to get people to only insert numbers and no letters. This also makes when a phone clicks on it, they get like that number pad and they can only click on numbers. Good when you need people to insert their mobile phone numbers. Another nice thing about the number type is that it can only give you a maximum and a minimum value. So the person can't go over the maximum and they can't go below the minimum. Which means if they try and go below my 5, they will say, it's gotta be 5. And if they try to go above my 10, it will be like, no, it's gotta be 10. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video. For more things you can enter, go to WeSchools or Solo Learn, and you can go take an HTML course there, and they will give you a ton of other things you can use, or you can just Google it. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video.